and I'd like to welcome us to our travel edition, the Lunch Club. Today we'll be taking a trip to Russia. So on our trip, before you know, sometimes it is good to know a few of the phrases to a new place with a whole different language. So I'll be utilizing Duolingo. I've talked about it in quite a bit of our advanced sessions, specifically for apps for education. So we'll be utilizing that app today to learn more about the language. So Duolingo again is an app where you can learn languages in a fun and interactive manner, and it's been a lot of fun. So if you see some icons at the top, the first I'm studying Russian. I'm also learning Spanish, so I can switch my course if I want to. This is my 505th day in a row learning a language, so either Spanish or Russian or both. So I just did a lesson earlier this morning. So this is my 505th day in a row of learning. And you see these are some of the different lessons. So for Russian, I've completed about 3 units of lessons. And then for Spanish, I've completed quite a few units, about 10 units of material. So yeah, so going back to Russian, one cool thing they do, because the language is quite different. There are some characters that are not even used in the English language. This is the Russian alphabet. So, learning a new language really makes you think about, how, to make words and phrases and such. So this is the Russian
Oh,
alphabet.
so
So I can actually learn the alphabet through different lessons. So I've studied K or F a lot, so you can see my progress. So the letters go, by this.
A,
So like, A, pretty easy.
B,
B,
V,
V, a big B. It looks like a B in our language, but it actually is V, like Victor.
G,
G, it looks like a upside down L, right?
D,
D, then
Ye,
Y, then
Yo,
Yo, because of the two dots at the top. So it's instead of a Y, like
Ye,
Y, it's Yo.
Yo,
And then this character right here
J.
is J.
I'm good.
J.
How are you?
J, right?
Z,
Three. It looks like a three, but it's Z, Z,
I,
E, E, like I, but it looks like a reverse N.
И краткое,
So this one, N with the kind of a U accent on it, it's
И краткое,
ikratka,
K,
K,
L,
L, and then
Yeah.
it's like the English alphabets,
M, N,
N, but it looks like a H,
O,
O, like the letter O.
P,
It's like a box with the bottom cut off. It's P, like sound like a P, P.
P, R,
And then R, that's a tongue. So you got to put the tongue on the roof of your mouth and then kind of exhale like ra, like ra, like that. Yeah, it's hard for me, but yeah, it looks like a C, but it sounds like S. So,
S, T,
and then T, T.
U,
It looks like a Y, but it's actually U.
F,
It's an O with a line in it. It's F.
Ooh.
It looks like X, but it's like horse, like huh. And then that one, it looks like a U with a little N on it.
Ch,
Ch. It looks like a Y, a lowercase big Y.
Sh,
Then there's
Sh,
and then sh.
I,
Uy,
Uy.
like yeah.
E,
Eh. And then there's
Ю,
this one. It's U,
Yeah.
Y-U.
Я,
And then
Yeah.
it looks like a reverse R. And then these are some special characters. So they don't have pronunciations, but they just change the way that you pronounce a word. So there's literally a soft sign and a hard sign. So we'll do one lesson and some phrases that we'll learn. So this one is
Я Мария,
Ya Maria. So Ya means I. So if
Ya
I say
Maria.
Ya Alexander, that means I am Alexander. Ya Ann, I am Ann. Ya
Yeah.
Brenda, I am
Ann.
Brenda, right? So
Yeah.
Ya, then the
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Это Борис.
Etta. So when you say Etta, that means this. So etta Boris, you notice there's not an is,
Etta
right?
Boris.
So the Russian language is kind of easy because there's a lot of the A's and those extra characters are not there. So if you want to say this is Boris, you just
Это
say
Борис.
etta Boris. So pretty simple. This next one is how to say hi.
Привет, я Виктор.
Привет. We can all say привет, right? That's how you say
Привет.
hello or hi. Привет.
Привет.
Yeah, привет.
Okay.
Because you have the ET and then that B, which is a V, and then that box with the bottom cutout, that's P. So that's, you can read привет. Я Victor. Hello, I am Victor.
Victor.
This one on the right, it's a little more challenging, but this
Добро
means welcome.
пожаловать.
So you say добро,
Добро.
пожаловать,
Добро.
пожаловать.
Добро
So-
пожаловать.
So it's добро
Добро.
пожаловать. That's how you say welcome.
Добро.
Yeah, it takes a while, right? This
Yeah.
one is
Дима, это Марк.
Dima, Etta Mark. So Dima, the name, and then this is Mark. So this is like this is whoever, but you're just adding the person's name. So Dima, Etta Mark,
Дима.
and then and then on
Привет,
the right
Марk.
is you're saying just hello, привет, Mark.
Дима. Alexander.
Yep. So привет. That's if you want to know one thing, that's how you say hello in Russian. Привет. Now you have different jobs. So te,
Ты пилот?
like te in Spanish, means you, like tu means you. It's kind of the same concept. So
Ты
te,
пилот?
pilot. That's how you say pilot. Pilot. So pretty
Pilot,
simple,
pilot.
right? So te
Mhm.
pilot. So are you a pilot? And then on the right here you have ya. Ya,
Yeah.
Я не
не,
пилот.
не. So
Yeah.
ne means
Yeah.
no or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you could say ya pilot, I am a pilot, or ya ne
Me.
pilot.
Nope.
I
Я
am
не
not
пилот.
a
Not-
pilot.
Okay.
And then again, the same thing, like Russian really likes to shorten it. So instead of saying literally Svetlana is a doctor, they just say Svetlana doctor.
Светлана, доктор.
So doctor, literally how you say it in English,
Svetlana,
like doctor, you say doctor is doctor,
Doctor.
right?
Светлана, доктор.
Same thing with a coach. Mark, you don't say is a or is Mark, you could just say Mark
Марк, тренер.
trainer. So trainer in Russian means coach.
Coach.
And then if you want to say,
Trainer.
yep, yes, he is a coach, you say yes, da means yes, niet means no. So da on trainer. So yes, he is a trainer.
Да, он тренер.
So yeah, those are just a couple of phrases and a little bit about the Russian alphabet. And as you can see, some words are literally like spelled out in Russian, like what do you do? Doctor, like doctor literally sounds like doctor. Pilot, like each letter of the Russian word corresponds to the English word, but some of them like welcome, like Dibro Pajalovitz. Who would know that means welcome unless you knew that. But it's you take what you can get, right? When you learn and you use. I'm using a little bit of what I learned in Spanish to kind of help me learn Russian in a way, because they just have their own different little grammar conjunctions. But for Russian, it's pretty easy because it's usually just saying this, and that's it. So just a little preview, and I just wanted to show you all that and what I've been learning. So it's been a lot of fun. So I hope you all have been utilizing this app as well.
До
So,
свидания.
Yes. See you later. Thank you, Thomas. That was good. That's one of the things I learned in the past few weeks. So again, thank you all for letting me show you that. And next up is Lou. I hope you enjoy that as well.
Thanks, Alex. Great job. You're clearly right and rightfully very proud of your Russian heritage. Great job. All right, folks. So let me
Thank you.
jump into it. We got about 50 minutes left. So before we do, I know trivia is a little bit exciting, so I'm going to start off with a quick trivia question. You know what? I've been mailing out a lot of prizes. I'm actually running low, so I'm going to have to be a little skimpier on the prizes going forward. However, does anybody know the name of the tribe that made those things I've been mailing out? What's the name of that tribe?
Oh.
What is it?
Messiah.
Messiah.
Maasai, right? The Maasai tribe.
Mhm.
And so we know the Maasai. They make a lot of. They make bracelets. We know that. They make necklaces. We know that. But what do they make more than anything else?
Whoopee.
Oh.
Anybody know?
Lou didn't catch that.
Jumping legs.
No, I'm gonna give you a hint.
Oh, patches?
No, close. I'll give you another hint.
Keychains.
Lion.
Logos.
They make Detroit
Lion.
Lions logos. They're making
Lion
Detroit
logos.
Lions logos.
Okay.
Wow.
No, I just
Was
made
that a
that up.
keychain?
But they really did make this. They really made this Detroit Lions logo. This is made by the Messiah. All
That
right.
would look so cool in some jeans.
All right, folks, so let me get into it here. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start where we always start, which is at the Department of Aging and Community Living in DC. And this time we're gonna get on the Silver Line, and we're gonna go out to Dulles Airport because most of those international flights go out of Dulles. So we're gonna go that. So what does anybody know what Russian airline we're gonna take to go to Russia? Anybody know? Aeroflot, right? Who said that?
Thomas.
Thomas said that.
Oh, good job, Thomas. We're taking Aeroflot.
I've never heard of that.
I haven't either.
Good job. Really good. So the one time I went to Russia, those Aeroflot flyers, the commercial airline flights fly like fighter pilots. The guy like took off in a vertical takeoff. He turned off the seatbelt lights the minute the wheels left the runway. I couldn't believe it. We went like a vertical climb.
Oh my goodness.
It was a lot of fun though. Okay, so we're gonna go on Dulles Airlines. We're gonna go to Dulles Airport, and we're gonna take off. We're gonna gain some altitude, and now we're gonna go really far, really far. We're gonna fly all the way across. So I'm gonna share a little bit about two locations here. Actually, a few locations because Russia is so big; it's almost like a world in itself. A little bit of trivia: Russia, the country of Russia, is 10% of the world's landmass. 10%. I mean, that's crazy big.
It's the largest
We're
country in
fly
the
over
world.
Spain, where we've already visited. We're flying over France, where we've already been. Italy, we've already been. Croatia, we've already been. And now we're gonna go across the Slavic countries, and we're gonna. There's Moscow up there. We're gonna hang a left. And we're gonna go to Moscow. So a couple of key spots. We're gonna gain altitude so you guys can see more of the whole country. A couple of key spots are Moscow right here. St. Petersburg, which was the old capital of Russia, which we'll learn about. Finland, a lot of the Finnish people identify as being Russian, and half of my heritage is from Finland. My mother's Finnish. And then I'm going to show you another area here. So this is the one time I went to Russia, we adopted our daughter from a city called Novokruznik, which is just above Mongolia. It's like right over here, and I'll try to find it better. But then if you kept going across, you keep going, you get to the opposite side of the country, and they have the city of Vladivostok, which is around here someplace. And then, of course, it's not far from there. It's only how many miles? About 90 miles across the Bering Strait.
That's Russia over there.
Yeah, to get to Alaska. So you can see it's a big country. And there's a lot of, with the global warming going on, a lot of the Arctic Ocean is thawing out. So that'll be a real boon for Russia to be able to do shipping, because they have access to the Pacific, the Atlantic, and all kinds of opportunities coming out of that for shipping for Russia. All right, so now that we've flown over the country, let's land in Moscow, because pretty much all the planes land in Moscow. And let's jump into a little history. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Where's Moscow? I don't see Moscow.
I'm going to stop. Oh, did you not see it?
No, but that's okay because I didn't have my glasses on.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing for just a second. And I'm going to jump into where we usually start out, which is the history. So let me just reshare again. Hold on. And let's learn a little bit about the history of Russia. Can everybody see it?
Yeah.
You're good. You're good to go, Lou.
Okay, I'm going to actually share again.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go. Everybody sees it?
Welcome,
Mm-hmm.
Mister.
This is the world, and here's Russia. Now let's go, shall we? It's the biggest country in the world and spans 11 time zones, so it shouldn't surprise us that this sprawling territorial vastness should have felt the tread of early humanity's feet, as it did so very long ago. According to the Kurgan hypothesis, it was in the south of Russia that the Indo-Europeans emerged as a people and spread out across Eurasia. What is a kurgan? This is a kurgan, a tumulus, a raised earthen mound where ancient elites were buried. Sort of like hobbit houses, if the hobbits were all dead. Anyway, this southern stretch of land between the Black and Caspian Seas is where most of the action was happening in Russia's ancient history. This region is part of the Pontic-Caspian steppe, a great swathe of flat grassland, a nomadic paradise of pasture, and unsurprisingly, the three dominant archaic cultures who dwelt here were all equestrian pastoralists, horse-mad wanderers of the wide grassy oceans of earth, the Cimmerians, the Scythians, and Sarmatians. The Cimmerians were an Iranian people, closely related to the Scythians who displaced them. These Scythians were exceedingly skilled craftsmen, but are most famed for being even better warriors, whose raids and conquests targeted peoples ranging from the Assyrians and Persians to the Greeks. The Sarmatians, also related to the Scythians, became lords of the steppe land after them, until their power was shattered by invading Goths from the west and Huns from the east. But this same location only proved more and more popular with invaders, and there were quite a lot of them. Bulgars, Alans, Avars, Goktuks, Magyars, Khazars, Pechenegs, and Kipchaks. There was, however, another group that entered the area towards whom we shall be granting most of our attention from here on. The Slavs. Farmers, fishers, hunters, and fur traders. The Slavs migrated east into what's now Rostov and Novgorod. The only substantial written source we have for this shadowy era is the 12th century primary chronicle, written by a fellow called Nestor, who no doubt told the truth because just look at that beard. Anyway, Nestor describes how, in the 800s AD, the East Slavs, perpetually squabbling amongst themselves, invited the Rus to govern them and establish order. These Rus were Swedish Varangian Vikings, chiefly concerned with trading and raiding. Ryuryuk here became the ruler of Novgorod in the year 862. His successor, Alyek, set about conquering more ground, including a town called Kiev, which became the capital of the state he founded, Kievan Rus. The Rus leaders soon became every bit as Slavic as their subjects, and began attacking the Byzantine Empire before the two made peace. Sviatoslav I expanded Kievan Rus further and conquered the Khazars of the Pontic steppe. Rus's golden era was established by Vladimir the Great, who took power in the year 980 and conquered and strengthened his domains. After meeting with representatives of various religions, Vladimir converted to Orthodox Christianity. He had rejected Judaism because the Jews had lost their city of Jerusalem. And, more humorously, he rejected Islam because it did not allow you to drink alcohol. Anyway, Vladimir began reforming the state and made peace with his neighbors and did what he could to help the poor, and his conversion set the national precedent, and Christianity became, and still is, the majority faith of the East Slavs. The reign of Yaroslav the Wise saw Kievan Rus attain its pinnacle. Then, as always happens, the descent began. Royal bickering and destructive invaders, and a decline in trade with the declining Byzantine Empire. However, there was a last huff of glory personified by the prince, Alexander Nevsky, who defeated both the invading Swedes and later the invading Germans in the famous Battle of the Ice in 1242. Most troublesome to the disunited Rus lands, however, were the invading Mongols, who ultimately proved too tough an opponent. The Mongols, whom the Slavs referred to as Tatars, burned, pillaged, and slaughtered their way through the land. In this turbulent time, a small town called Moscow began to grow and increase in stature and influence, due in no small part to its leaders, who chose to cooperate with the Mongols and not agitate them by rebellion for a while. As Moscow became stronger, it hoped, as all Russians hoped, hoped, to free itself from the so-called Tatar yoke. Enter Dmitry Donsky, Grand Prince of Moscow, who led a number of Russian principalities to victory against the Mongols in the Battle of Kulikovo in 1380, which signaled the steady decline of Mongol power. So the years passed and Moscow expanded, and Ivan III's rumbling reign saw Moscow gain more land, including its old rival Novgorod. Vasily III swallowed up the last remaining Russian regions, and then came Ivan the Terrible. The restless, ruthless Ivan proclaimed himself the first Tsar of all Russia, conquered big chunks of land, built St. Basil's Cathedral, brutally consolidated power, killed his own son in a burst of anger, and instantly regretted it, and ultimately left the country in a miserable condition, thanks to all his ruinous militarism. In 1598, Russia entered an era of horrifying hardship known as the Time of Troubles. The Tsar, Fyodor I, died without an heir, and chaos ensued. Fighting for the throne, a famine that killed over a quarter of the population, 2 devastating invasions by Poland, a Swedish invasion, and all the while the Tatars of Crimea marauded through Russian lands, abducting people to sell into slavery, mostly to the Ottoman Empire. At last, in 1612, Russia chalked up some wins, beating Poland in the Battle of Moscow. The very next year, Michael I was chosen to be Tsar, the first of the Romanov dynasty. Recovery was slow and problems were manifold, but Russia was strengthening, as seen in its victory in yet another war with Poland and in the rise of Peter the Great. Standing 6'8" tall, Peter was a man of immense energy and ambition who sought to modernize Russia and emulate the achievements of Western Europe. In adopting Western ways, he went so far as to force state officials and members of the military to shave their beards. He even introduced a beard tax to this effect. Peter's reforms are credited with launching Russia onto the European stage as a great power. He founded the city of St. Petersburg, and after defeating Sweden in the Great Northern War, Russia was proclaimed an empire. His daughter Elizabeth much preferred peace to war and building to destruction. Not quite so peaceful was Empress Catherine the Great, whose wars saw Russia beat the Turks and take Crimea, then beat the Turks again, then beat the Poles and snatch land from them. Meanwhile, Russia's long Cossack-led conquest of Siberia concluded, subduing native Siberians to Russian rule. The colonizing efforts of Russia had even extended to North America, where Russia laid claim to Alaska. One of Europe's enlightened despots, Catherine also presided over a blossoming of culture and education. But for all the dainty elegance and powdered philosophy of the upper classes, Russia's economy remained reliant on the backward system of serfdom. Serfs were unfree peasants, bound to the land of landowners, with few rights, and who lived lives little better than slaves. Under Alexander I, Russian forces took Finland and gained lands from Persia, but also faced an enormous threat in the person of Napoleon Bonaparte. The French Emperor's massive army invaded Russia in 1812, smashing the Russians at Smolensk and beating them again at Borodino. But when Napoleon got to Moscow, he found it abandoned and in flames. As the Russians fell back, they burnt the land behind them, depriving the French of food supplies. Napoleon's forces, frustrated and hungry, were compelled to retreat as the vicious winter crept closer, and the Russians struck back and triumphed. Under Nicholas I, Russia pushed for industrialization and won this war, but lost the Crimean War. Changes and reforms were called for. Alexander II provided some, most notably the emancipation of the serfs in 1861. A few years later, he sold Alaska to the United States. Russia also conquered the Caucasus region, the land of the Chechens, the Avars, and the Circassians. Hundreds of thousands of Circassians were killed and exiled in a resulting genocide. Russia denies this was genocide, however, and Georgia is the only country in the world that recognizes it as such. In 1894, Nicholas II ascended the throne, and soon proved to be an ineffectual leader. The world was changing, but Nicholas's mindset was bogged down in the past, and he simply wasn't ready to lead his nation into the 20th century. Western Europe had advanced, Russia trailed behind. The empire's shortcomings were starkly exhibited in its war with industrialized Japan, in which conflict the Japanese utterly thrashed the Russian fleet. This humiliation helped spark Russia's 1905 revolution. It was quashed, but the Tsar's reputation only worsened, not helped by the unpopularity of his wife and the way they were both supposedly held in the power of the enigmatic mystic Rasputin, who was believed to have the power to heal their hemophiliac son. Then in 1917, as Russian forces fought in the First World War, a revolution erupted that resulted in Nicholas abdicating and the proclamation of the Russian Republic. The new state didn't last long, though. The prominent far-left communist political party, known as the Bolsheviks, pushed for another revolution and got it. The revolutionaries, under the leadership of Vladimir Lenin, took control of the capital. But acceptance of the victory was not unanimous, and the country spiraled into civil war, in which the pro-Bolshevik Reds fought the anti-communist Whites. Millions of people were killed, systematically in the case of the Bolsheviks, whose Red Terror, enforced by the secret police, executed thousands of suspected enemies with the aim of crushing all possible hindrances to their party's grip on power. power. It worked. The Reds won, and the imprisoned Tsar and his family were shot and stabbed to death, and thus was born the Soviet Union, a coalition of socialist governments, initially including Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and the Caucasus, but keen on expansion. After Lenin's death in 1924, leadership was seized by Joseph Stalin, who steadily acquired total dictatorial power. Radical agricultural policies did not go as planned, and millions died in famines, whilst there was a Herculean push for rapid industrial progress. Stalin also launched the Great Purge to get rid of all suspected rivals to his power, and anyone who might impede the goals and policies of the state. Many were executed. Many were sent to the nightmarish Gulag forced labor camps. Another place known for nightmarish camps was Nazi Germany, who invaded the Soviet Union in 1941 during World War II. The early stages of the operation went as planned for the Germans, who shoved the unprepared Soviets back with brutal efficiency. But what Hitler had not expected was the ferocious tenacity of the Soviets and their iron-willed leader, who absolutely refused to surrender, regrouped, and fought with everything they had. As the citizens of besieged Leningrad held their ground, Soviet forces triumphed at Moscow, as well as the pivotal Battle of Stalingrad and the largest tank battle in history, and began pushing the Germans back, capturing Berlin in May 1945. So the Soviet Union won, but at a staggering cost. Over 20 million Soviet citizens died in the struggle. After the war, the Soviet Union and the United States were the world's only two superpowers. Their ideological rivalry and opposition to each other was the basis of the Cold War, an uneasy age of nuclear-based tenseness and proxy conflicts, but no direct warfare between the big boys. Stalin died in 1953 and was succeeded by Khrushchev, who promoted de-Stalinization reforms and oversaw the Soviet space program, in which the Soviets made incredible scientific advances. However, by the 1970s and 80s, it was clear the West was advancing further. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan was a disaster, and it was clear changes were to come. Under Gorbachev, a number of reforms were passed, but despite his efforts, the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991 as the various states broke away from Russia and acquired independence. Russia subsequently experienced hard times, increased poverty, corruption, crime, and unrest. There were also uprisings by separatists in the Russian-controlled Islamic Caucasus, most severely in Chechnya. The winner of the 2000 elections was a certain Vladimir Putin, who presided over a time of economic improvement, victory over the Chechen insurgency, victory over Georgia, and the 2014 annexation of Crimea from Ukraine. In 2022, Putin expressed his dissatisfaction with the expansion of NATO by invading Ukraine. This map here shows, in blue, all the countries that denounced the incursion. Now today, Russia possesses a very high level of human development and one of the world's biggest economies, and despite all its problems has achieved many extraordinary things, whether it be in music, in literature, in science, in sport, or in cinema. But what's next? What's going to happen? I don't know. What do you think the future holds for Russia? Comment below, but for now, bye-bye!
Great. Well, any thoughts on that, folks? That was pretty good. Any thoughts about it? It was a little long, I guess, but
No, it went a little fast at trying to keep up, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was very interesting. I didn't realize that during Khrushchev, some of the things that went on, but I'm starting to remember. That's one reason why I think they need to go back and start teaching history in the school system.
Yes.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Anything else that struck anybody about that? I've always been amazed at how the Vikings really had a big influence on Russia. And when you go there, a lot of the men and women, look like they're Nordic, like they're from Viking ancestry. Kiev, I know, is a Viking stronghold. So that's sort of interesting about Russia. How Nordic and Viking they look.
What you mean, they're big and burly?
Yeah, big and burly, and imagine what Vikings look like. They're sort of tough folks. I mean, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of history that to remind you of the things that happened in the past.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, let me then get this off cue, and then let's get into a little bit of what about present day. So let's have a look at some of the best places to visit in Russia today. Everybody see it?
Yep.
Russia, once the largest and most powerful member of the former USSR, remains a fascinating country to visit. It is a country of contrasts, from great subtropical beaches to bitterly cold winter regions in the north. The east may have fewer people, but its lovely cities are among the most interesting in Russia and can hold their own against the west. Russia is steeped in history everywhere a traveler goes, from vicious battles to great classical music and literature. Here's a look at the best places to visit in Russia. Number 10. Yekaterinburg. Yekaterinburg has been the setting of numerous important events in Russia's history. It is here that the Romanovs were executed and Boris Yeltsin came to power. Lying next to the Ural Mountains, the city was once the object of a gem rush as miners poured into Yekaterinburg hoping to make their fortune. Nowadays, it has lots of historical and cultural sites for visitors to enjoy. With a growing economy, many bars and cafes are springing up, and there is a fantastic gastronomic scene. Number 9. Sochi. Sochi on the Black Sea is a great winter sports destination, and, in fact, it hosted the 2014 Winter Olympics. Despite winter snow, Sochi offers a subtropical climate and great beaches, making it a key part of the Russian Riviera. The resort city makes a great summer and winter getaway for Russians. Strolling along the pedestrian-only sea embankment is a pleasant experience. From here, you can go hiking in Agura Valley or head to the nearby ski resorts in the mountains, where the Olympics took place. Number 8. Veliki Novgorod. Lying on the banks of the Volkhov River, this ancient city was the first capital of Russia all the way back in the 9th century. Set on an important trade route between Central Asia and Europe, Veliki Novgorod thankfully avoided being destroyed in the Second World War, so most of its fantastic monasteries and monuments are intact. The medieval heart of the city is fascinating to explore, and numerous old churches can be found. The 11th century St. Sophia's Cathedral is just one of many highlights, alongside St. George's Cathedral, the oldest monastery in Russia. Number 7. Vladivostok. Mountains and bays surround Vladivostok, making it a stunning, beautiful city in Russia's east. The last stop on the Trans-Siberian Railway, Vladivostok is the country's largest port on the Pacific Ocean. It is just a jump away from North Korea and China. Some lovely architecture can be found interspersed among Soviet-era buildings. A city on the move, new theaters and cultural attractions are opening up in Vladivostok, while its fantastic restaurant scene is perfectly complemented by trendy cocktail bars and pumping nightlife. Number 6. Nizhny Novgorod. With the Volga and Oka rivers running through it, Nizhny Novgorod is most famed for the spectacular hilltop Kremlin looking out over the spot where the two tributaries join. Although it is understandably the highlight of what is on offer, the city has more than enough to entertain visitors for a couple of days. There are some great museums and restaurants for tourists to enjoy, as well as lovely views of the surroundings. From here, you can go on a scenic river cruise to some of the villages and towns nearby. Number 5. Lake Baikal. Many travelers on the Trans-Siberian Railway make plans to stop at Lake Baikal, the deepest and oldest lake on Earth. Lake Baikal holds around 20% of the world's fresh water and is considered one of the clearest lakes in the world. Located in Siberia, the 25-million-year-old lake is surrounded by beautiful mountain ranges. Known as the Pearl of Siberia, Lake Baikal is home to several resorts, making the area a popular vacation destination. Number 4. Kazan. Kazan is sometimes referred to as the Istanbul of the Volga because it is a city where European and Asian cultures meet. The capital of Tatarstan is a lovely city where church tower and minarets fill the skyline. Also known as the third capital of Russia, after Moscow and St. Petersburg, Kazan residents enjoy one of the highest standards of living in Russia. Sights to see include the remains of the Kazan Kremlin that was destroyed by Ivan the Terrible and the Kul Sharif Mosque, named after a man defending Kazan from Ivan. Number 3. Golden Ring. The Golden Ring strings together several cities outside of Moscow that fill the senses with awe. Picturesque countrysides filled with cherry orchards, quaint cottages, onion-shaped domes, and iconic churches that contain the country's oldest art make this region a special place to visit. One of the oldest regions in Russia, today it is very popular with tourists who want to experience a bygone era. The traditional way to view the cities and towns makes a counterclockwise loop, beginning and ending in Moscow. Number 2. St. Petersburg. Only founded in 1703, St. Petersburg's tumultuous history has seen it change names numerous times. The former capital, from which the Tsars once reigned, hosted the Communist Revolution and was later sieged by the Nazis. With a Western European feel to it, elegant palaces and grand cathedrals are abundant in the city, while lovely, leafy parks make it a simply beautiful place to wander around. Rivers and canals cut through St. Petersburg, and delightful bridges cross its waterways. Not to be missed is the spectacular art collection at the Hermitage Museum. Number 1. Moscow. As the capital of Russia, Moscow is the most important city in Russia, but not just for political reasons alone. This city of more than 12 million is also well known for its artistic endeavors, including ballet, symphonies, and art. Onion-shaped domes of historic churches fill the skyline. The stately Kremlin and impressive Red Square, one of the largest squares in the world, are sights not to be missed, as are statues of Lenin and Stalin, controversial leaders in the 20th century. Further evidence that Moscow's past wasn't always squeaky clean can be seen in the Gulag and Cold War museums.
Great. Any thoughts, any reflections on Russia, folks?
It's so pretty over there. It looks so modern.
The buildings are beautiful. The architecture,
Yeah.
colorful, and it's just lovely.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
Red Square is one of the largest squares in the world.
Oh, the Red Square.
Uh-huh.
Pretty over there. I didn't think they were so modern over there. But
And it's so clean. I mean, woo, it's clean over there. Everything is just spotless, look like.
Yeah, well, keep in mind this is a tourist video, so we don't see everything, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it needs to, you can go in some tours in other countries. They're not that spotless though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
What surprised me was the diversified terrain of Russia. I
Mhm.
didn't look at like
Yeah.
subtropical areas. I always thought of Russia as cold and bleak.
Right, that's true.
Yes,
That's true.
me too.
But it's so big, there's the northern part and the southern part. So
East and the
it's
west.
so big,
yeah.
there's many different climates.
I was always amazed that they had 11 time zones.
That's amazing, isn't it? 11 time zones.
11 times.
Yeah.
Here in this
That's
country,
like
we
half
only
the
have
world,
3.
right? There's
Mhm.
only 24 in the whole world. That's half the world.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to share a story. So the one and only time I was in Russia, we were there a long time, almost a month, was I know there's a lot of older folks in the call, so you might remember this. But do you recall when Perestroika happened and the old regime fell and Gorbachev came in? Y'all remember that?
I was Yeltsin.
Yeah, I remember when he took
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was little.
Yeah. Well, during that same time, a lot of the infrastructure within the country, went to hell. And one of the pieces of infrastructure were the orphanages. So did you all remember how children were dying in the orphanages?
Yeah.
All over
Yes,
the
now I
Eastern
remember
Bloc?
that. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was almost like a human airlift of people going out there, and my wife and I were part of that. So we flew to Siberia and adopted our daughter. She was in an orphanage in a city called Novokruznich, which is just north of Mongolia. And I've traveled lots of places, and I must say that there's only one place I've ever been that I would not want to go back to, and that was
that was it.
Novokruznich, Siberia.
Siberia, yeah, it is too.
It was I was trying to find videos of it. We boarded the plane in Moscow, and I swear it looked like the aluminum on the wings was tacked down with spare screws, and someone with some scissors cut the aluminum out. There was no piece of aluminum on that plane that was the same size. It was like it was crazy.
Wow.
my
Well, that
wife
must have been scary.
my wife organized the trip, and I wasn't watching close enough. And then we get on the plane, and this it was Siberia Airlines. The stewardess button, you press it, was like a tricycle bell. It goes it's like, okay, this is a little weird. And then I had to use the bathroom, and of course you all went into some bathrooms in the national parks and stuff. Well, this was worse. The bathroom on the airplane was an outhouse. And, yeah, so okay, so we're getting some alarm bells going off. Now keep in mind, this is one of the worst times in Russia's history, right? So we got to frame it for that era. And then it was a 5-hour flight to get from Moscow to Siberia. We were going on a Tupolev 154, which was not the best built plane in the world. And then like 3 in the morning, there was a brawl on the plane. A bunch of people, and they were rolling up the aisles, rolling down the aisles, rolling up the aisles. And the stewardesses and everyone, they were hiding, like no one was breaking it up.
Too much vodka.
It wasn't. Oh, the vodka was flowing. It was flowing. People brought their own flasks. It was flowing on that plane.
Yep.
And so finally we landed, and the airport was like a Walmart parking lot.
Oh, Lord.
It was this big black tarmac thing, and now we're in Novokruzhnik, Siberia, and there was no infrastructure. Keep in mind, this is the fall of the communist era. There was no infrastructure. You couldn't exchange money. There were no stores. It's a big city, 1 million people. There's no stores, and there's no hotels. There was no structure for any kind of travel. So we had to stay in people's houses while they were arranging us going to the orphanages. And there was starvation in the orphanages. The kids were eating tea. Our daughter was eating tea for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Her teeth were yellow. Yeah, it was just crazy. And again, keep in mind, this is one of the worst times in the country's history.
Right.
But I do want to show you a video of, because we got a chance to experience this, how the average Russian does live even today. This is a current thing, because a lot of Russians still live in the Soviet era block construction houses. And this was built during the time of Stalin, when these large apartment style, all uniform mass housing was built for the Russians, and most still live like that. So I'm gonna play a quick video on this.
What is happening, great people? It's Zangief, your Russian mate from Russia. And right now I'm in the provincial town of Engels, and I'm about to show you the typical flat in the typical 9-storied block of flats. Built in the early 80s, it is not some kind of a Stalinka or Khrushchevka house. This is called Leningrad type house, one of. So initially such houses were built in Leningrad, which is now known as St. Petersburg, and then within the whole Russia, such types of houses were built as well. I believe it would be interesting for you to see the premises first and to see the playing ground for the kids. And yeah, by the way, I'm standing right on it. I'm standing on the roof of the garages. And I'm not joking, guys. Yesterday when I was here, so many children, about 20 kids, were playing here, running, jumping on the roofs. So yeah, that's exactly how the Russian kids are raised. Just take a look at these numerous pipes. This is absolutely all right for this town, and these pipes are...
So where the housing is, they're heated through these central steam plants. And those are steam pipes that go in from the central plant into the individual block houses.
Present almost in every neighborhood. If you would want to know more about this, please check my video about the provincial life in the town of Engels. Link will be in the description. I wouldn't say that playing here is too bad, actually. Maybe a bit risky, yeah, because you can fall off the roof. But as a person who was raised in the late 90s, early 2000s myself, I can tell you that even in Moscow, yeah, I had quite the same childhood. By the way, this place in the house, which I'm about to show you, is the place where my wife was raised, and she's absolutely a normal person. Yeah, so don't believe any stereotypes. As for the playgrounds, there is actually one present here. I'm about to show it to you. And yeah, childhood here is quite interesting. Take a look at the variety of toys. Take a look at this slide, and
What an interesting letter. As my wife says, actually nowadays kids are quite lucky because they have these. Back in the 90s when my wife was raised, the benches could be missing, these things could be missing because some guys were detaching this and then getting money for scrap metal. I really want everybody who is watching this video, and probably those people from the provincial parts of Russia who is watching this video, to understand that despite me being a Muscovite and being born and raised in Moscow, believe me, the playgrounds in my childhood were like this. I myself am coming not from a rich or even middle class family, so my childhood experience, by the way, was quite similar. I bet 50 Cent would be happy to see his tag here. In front of the house, you can see this strange entrance, which is leading underground. And you can think, is this a prison or what? Because there's a lock here and a really strange door. However, actually this way leads just to the storage rooms. So the people living here in this house have an access down there and they can store their stuff. If we are talking about the house entrance, it is quite typical for almost any 9-story building built in the USSR, in any town, any city. At first sight, it can be a bit strange for you to see two different doors, like where should you go, left or right, but actually there is only one entrance, and this door leads to the garbage storage room. So you may see that there is a lot of litter here, and this is a pipe that goes up to the top floor, and people on any floor can throw away their trash without exiting the house.
So my wife and I, we stayed in this house for about 2 weeks while they were in there, and this is actually almost a good example. It had an abandoned feeling to it, peeling paint, dirty floors, all that kind of stuff.
Looks like New York.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot worse than New York, though. It almost felt like a Detroit abandoned, Packard factory or something. But the individual houses were much better maintained in the common areas of the structure.
Of course, on the one hand, this is an advantage because, especially in the cold times, you don't have to dress up and go outside. But at the same time, you should understand that storing garbage like this can lead to the spread of rats or other bad diseases. That's why in the houses built in the modern Russia, these are prohibited. You may see some embroidery made
This
by
is
my
inside
wife
the
some
house,
years
and
ago.
inside the
Right now, we are
houses,
entering the
they're
living
not
room,
large, but
and
they're
usually
much better
this is
maintained.
the biggest room in the flat. Because the main purpose of this room is just to watch TV set and to have some guests. Having guests nowadays, and especially in the USSR times, was a big event. Even if you are having just...
So I wanted to just give you a glimpse, and this really is how, as he's saying, how probably most of Russians are living in these block houses with shared heating and all. It's a tough life. When we went back from Siberia to Moscow, oh my gosh, I thought I was in paradise in Moscow, because Moscow is such a modern, beautiful city. We loved Moscow. But when you get out of Moscow and you get into some of these other areas, and he's saying even in Moscow, a lot of the housing's like that. It's not the easiest life there.
And they still exist today, Lou?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
this is a current video.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What was startling to us is how the outside of the areas and the common areas within those large 9-story concrete structures, how incredibly poorly maintained they were. The building felt abandoned. And when you actually got into the individual person's apartment, the living conditions were better, but the common areas were absolutely not maintained. And we never felt threatened, like it was dangerous, but visually we should have, because it felt like it was sort of abandoned and run down. But we didn't really see any kind of crime. We did not see any kind of crime, nor did we feel threatened by the people themselves.
Did they pay rent to live in these blocks?
Yes.
They paid rent?
Yeah.
I think I read that it's like $500 a month now. I don't know what when we were there, it was right at the fall of the communist era, so I'm not sure about back then.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's a tough life. I mean, a lot of Russian people, you got to give them credit for getting by into those kinds of conditions.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me see how we on time. I'm giving strict notice
It's
to
a
stay.
minute to one, Lou.
Oh my gosh, we got to jump right to trivia. All right. Well, I've got videos on, and again, I don't want to, as was said in the video, St. Petersburg, place I've never been. I heard that's one of the most beautiful cities on the planet, and I believe it with all the palaces and so couldn't recommend that enough. And again, we thought Moscow was just gorgeous, really super ultra modern town. Everybody across Russia was really nice. They had the good sense of humor. I think you got to have that, when living in some of the history they've had and some of the harsh conditions some of them still have. So it's important to share that as well. All right, well, let's get into the trivia.
Who's ready to win and learn? That was so interesting, Lou. Thank you so much for the videos.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Okay.
And I'm sure that you must have been an angel taking that baby home out of that part of that world that she was living in. I'm sure she's got she's probably living like a princess.
Yeah, it was an adventure, that's for sure. And one of my lessons was I needed to more thoroughly research things before we went. I sort of just went with the flow, and but again, it was a very difficult time in the history of that country. All right, well, let me share the screen.
Yep.
So here we go.
Y'all, we have
I better not share this. Hold on.
Besides us, Lou, we have besides us, we have 48 folks on the call today. So thank you all.
Oh, fantastic. That's such great news.
Coming on.
Well, welcome everybody. Hold on, we're gonna share it in just a second. Okay, hold on. I don't want to give away the answers, so.
Good, Lou.
Yeah, that's. Hold on. Okay, I got it figured out now. Here we go. Okay, Russia trivia. Here we are in Moscow, Red Square. Absolutely gorgeous. By the way, they have the incorrupt body of Vladimir Lenin on display in a glass case.
Yeah.
Vladimir Lenin. Yeah, at least you could up and when we went in the late 1990s, but I bet he's still there today. Okay, here we go. First question. Okay, there's no prize on this. We know the answer. It's too easy.
11.
11, right. Good, okay.
Oh, good job, you all.
And look at the size of that country. Oh my gosh. Spans half the globe. All right, now these are prize questions. Here we go. First part of it.
Lake Baikal.
Right, but good job, Tom. But how about the second part of the question? You got to get both.
Oh.
Make sure we let Lou read the question before we answer, please.
I don't remember that either.
What is the name of the world's oldest, deepest, and largest lake by volume? And what Russian province is it in?
That I don't know. I know the name of the lake.
Yes, it's Siberia is the region. I'm testing your Google skills here.
Both answers.
What Russian province is it in? I'll count down from 10.
Mongolia?
9. No.
Where's the deepest lake?
Good guess,
in
Brenda.
Russia?
8. 7.
Come on, y'all, get this.
6.
Lake Baikal.
5. Baikal. 4. 3.
Come on, my beautiful.
2. 1. Oh, time's up. Okay. All
That
right,
was a
well,
hard
good
one.
guess. I'm making her in the
Les
Irkutsk
Battles.
Oblast province.
Oh, blast.
Oh, wow.
Last time.
That was so
Never
cool,
heard of
though.
that. Don't
So
remember that.
you got
Oh,
either one
blast.
of these, I would have given it to you. But I'm making the questions a little harder because I want you to get on Google and practice your Googling skills, okay?
Make sure you don't
Okay.
hear you. We can hear it. It interrupts
Okay,
audio, so.
next question. This one's easier. What beverage is Russia best known for, and what is its translation in English?
Vodka.
Vodka.
Okay, that's the first part, right?
Yeah.
Second part now.
The translation in English.
So now you can use Google Translate. You can just type in
When does-
Google what is vodka
when
in
does
English.
Good water.
Water
Right. Who was that?
Oh,
Right.
I think Mr. Harold said it first.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Okay, water.
Yes. Oh, good job.
Good job,
That's
Harold.
crazy. Water and
Good job,
English.
Harold.
That is
So-
crazy.
Harold, bracelet or necklace, Harold?
Let me give it away, Lou.
Okay, who on the participants would you like to give it to, Mr. Harold?
Burnett Green.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Harold, for your kindness. Hi, Burnett. Would you like a bracelet or a necklace?
I'll take a bracelet and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Chabot, for responding. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much, you all.
Make me happy.
Okay, next question. Who was the first
Yuri
human being
Gagarin.
going into space?
Yuri Gagarin.
Right, who said that?
Mr. Ronald
Gagarin.
Thompson. Mr. Thompson said it. Good job, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah.
All right, Ron Thompson, good job. Woo!
Good job. Would you like a bracelet or a necklace?
I want you to give it to Dina White.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that, Mr. Ronald. Dina, if you could, well, Dina's not on the call, or let me see, Dina's not on. Can you look at the participants and see who you would like to provide it to?
Let's see, said the blind man. Let's see. Let me see. Who is Madonna Belton?
Me.
You got it, Madonna.
All right, thank you.
That's nice, Ronald.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice of you.
Nice to hear your voice, Madonna.
Thank
okay.
you.
Hi, Miss Madonna. Would you like thank you so much for coming on. Would you like a bracelet or a necklace?
Bracelet.
No problem, Miss Madonna. Again, thanks for coming on. And thank you, Mr. Ronald, for your kindness. Really appreciate that.
Thanks,
You
Ron.
know,
Thanks for that. Good
you know I
job.
love my gang. I love my gang.
All right, here's the last question here. This is also a bonus one. I'm gonna have to limit the prizes to about 3 now because I'm running out of bracelets and necklaces. But so here's another bonus one. It doesn't have a prize associated, but let's see if you can get it. Okay, here we go. Final bonus. Experts in Russia and worldwide agree that there is only one football team to cheer for this weekend. What team is it?
The Bills.
No, keep going.
Green Bay.
No, good guess though. It's a good guess.
The Giants.
Kansas City.
No.
the
good guess.
Ravens.
Definitely
Buffalo.
not
Broncos.
I'll give you
The
a hint.
Lions.
The Lions.
Lions. Yeah.
Oh, you
It
got
had to be
have
something
that.
with
Yeah, I
Detroit.
should know. Detroit Lions.
You would choose Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Well, of course.
Well,
All right, folks.
yes, and congratulations to Miss Burnett and Miss Madonna for winning a prize today, and for those that provided to them. You're so kind, and
That was so nice of both of them. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
those guys,
thank you guys again.
they're really nice guys.
yeah. So let's all thank Lou for such a wonderful session.
Thanks, Lou. Thank you, Lou.
Nice.
Thank you, Lou.
Interesting.
Good job. Thank you.